Good morning. My name is Barbara Altus, and my collage is about overcoming personal fears. My earliest childhood fear was a fear of needles. And is it any wonder? My mother told me I'd had more shots as a child than my sisters would ever have to have. I still remember vividly, one day when I was 6 years old, my grandmother took me to the lab at Part 180 for a blood draw. I kept whining as she talked to the staff, "No needle! No needle!" over and over again. Then, heaven forbid, "No, stop it! I don't want to go there. It looks like a fiddle-sticking torture chamber." My grandmother tried to restrain me, but when I saw that man uncap the needle, "No, stop it! I want to go home!" Then he replaced the cap, and I calmed down. Thank goodness. I'd been spared. Or had I? My grandmother left the room, and the man who was going to draw my blood now had me in his lap, and he was a lot tighter and hold me still. I wasn't going anywhere until they did what they wanted to do. All I could do was sit there and bawl. Then about halfway through the last tube, I stopped and watched out of sheer curiosity. There's a needle in my arm, but it doesn't hurt. I didn't understand, but whatever made it easier. I realized that day they weren't trying to hurt me. Thus, my fear of needles was rather short-lived. Not that I particularly care for them, but the sight of a syringe doesn't make me shudder like bees, wasps, and yellowjackets. I still remember my earliest awareness of biophobia was when I went to Leo Creole Beach, camping with my mother's side of the family. Ever since I was told they'd sting me if I made them mad, I viewed them as nothing but a threat. Around my meals, around my feet, my sweet hairspray-saturated hair, doggone it, get away from me! Barbara, calm down, or you're going to get stung. Not in this lifetime! One summer, I spent the month with my Aunt Carrie in Chico, and she had mud dabbers right in front of our house. I didn't care if those things were non-aggressive. The only good one was a dead one. One day I had the gumption to walk out the front door with a glass of iced tea in my hand. Oh, those mud dabbers weren't interested in my tea. Just my ears. No! Stop it! Barbara, Jean, what is wrong? Right in front of my face! Yeah, I laugh at it now, even though I still glare at anything that even looks like it might sting me. Then there were boats. My mother had this couple of friends who had a ski boat and loved taking it out on the lake in the summertime. I didn't care if my mother wanted to go, but I wanted no part with it. But once again, I had no say in the matter. You're going in that boat whether you want to or not. I thought that boat was going to take me straight to my grave. Linda had some compassion as she took me on the jet ski and let me control the speed so I wouldn't feel so threatened by it. Woo! However, Steve's patience was limited because one day he insisted we'd be going fast. One day, we make our way out, we pick up speed, Steve stands up, and we both go down. For dear life, I pull myself back up and start screaming like a damsel in distress. Help! Somebody help me! I realized I'd get laryngitis before anyone out there cared enough to come to our rescue. So, nearly running Steve over, I managed at 7 years old to bring that jet ski back to shore as my mother and Linda were cheering for me. My fear of boats didn't let up right away, but my aunts and uncles were more compassionate toward my apprehension when we went on Grandpa's cruiser. In time, not only did I start to warm up to the waves from the little Zodiac on Anacapa Island to the big ship on Catalina, this was one personal fear that flourished into a passion. But my dealings with personal fears was far from over, and it's not easy when a fear of heights gets entwined with a childhood dream of gliding in the air. It gets more complicated when someone involved takes you by the heart, because you won't want to look like a chicken to him. That was a lesson set in motion the day I got sight of a flyer for an upcoming skydive trip 2 years ago. Now, I was faced with a decision that would haunt me no matter which path I took. Do I remain on solid ground where it's safe? Or do I live out the dream I had one night of jumping off of Grandma's staircase and floating down like Mary Poppins? As much as the thought of jumping out of a plane terrified me, so did the idea of being tied down for life by chains of regret. So after many unrestful nights, I decided I'd better give it a shot. I get to Lodi with a handful of students, and about 90 minutes later, my number gets called. We get to the plane, and I'm scared to death as I'm stepping on board. We get seated, and I try to focus on other people, the color of the plane, the color of the floor, anything to curb my rising apprehension. I resolve to jump now and think later, so I won't have a chance to change my mind. It was too important to do this for the little 9-year-old in me. The door opens, and people start to jump. I start to lose my nerve and my faith very quickly, and I start to think that I won't be able to do it. But all the same, when Joe asks me once again, "Are you all right?" I answer, "Oh yes." Dear God, please, I have to jump, or I'll regret it for the rest of my life. It's time to move up, and my eyes are tight shut in hopes that I won't chicken out the very last second. I hear the wind, and I realize we're at the exit. I don't think about how I'm risking my life more than I ever have. At Joe's command, I just jump. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I actually did it. I was torn between fright that my life depended on a parachute and relief that I managed to jump. Joe consoles me as we're gliding down, and while I was afraid, one thing I didn't feel was alone. When we landed, I was just grateful I managed to take that leap of faith. The natural high didn't come to me that day, but when it did, it came to me in waves for weeks. For 3 days, it was like a video stuck on repeat 1. I kept reliving it over and over and over. Lost in his world, my first flight wasn't my last, and it made me wonder what else I was capable of. Joe hadn't only helped me find a tremendous amount of courage, he hadn't only shared what would be a hallmark memory, he shared a turning point. And now I yearn to take his wings and discover a world I once had no interest in, a place that doesn't seem so far away anymore. I still have some unresolved fears. If bees and wasps get too close to me, I'm going to shout some choice words. However, my happiest childhood moments were spent riding the waves on Grandpa's cruiser. And the needle issue? It's a way of life. Thank you.